Hello and welcome to our webinar, Matchmaking with Macmillan. I'm Donna Seaman, Adult Books Editor for Booklist. Before we begin, I'd like to go over some technical details. A link to today's slide presentation was included in the reminder email you received from Zoom an hour ago. To download it, please open that email, scroll to the bottom, and click on the link. You can also download the slides by copying the URL right here on the screen into your web browser. If you have any trouble, please contact us at webinars@booklistonline.com. The audience is in listen-only mode, but we do welcome any questions you may have. On the bottom of your screen is a toolbar with a section for Q&A. If you have a question or if you need technical assistance, simply click Q&A and type your message into the box. We will do our best to respond to all tech-related questions, and we'll pass along all other questions to today's panelists. They will follow up with you after the webinar. Finally, Booklist offers closed captioning on all our webinars. To enable or disable captions on your screen, please look for and click the captions icon on the toolbar. From there, you can select show or hide captions from the menu. If you choose to enable subtitles, you can adjust the size at any time by selecting caption setting. All right, well, we have a wonderful program for you today. Let me introduce our presenters. We have Amanda Crimarco is the Library Marketing Senior Manager. She coordinates the library marketing activities at Macmillan's adult publishers. After saying farewell to her home state of Georgia and attending NYU's Summer Publishing Institute, Amanda joined the library marketing world and never looked back. A longtime lover of libraries, Amanda loves to share her passion for all things fantasy, sci-fi, romance, and horror, but she'll read anything that comes with a good recommendation. Thanks, Amanda. Emily Day is the Associate Manager for Library Marketing. After receiving her master's degree in children's literature from Simmons University in Boston, she joined the Macmillan Library team in 2017 and has been there ever since. Emily mostly reads YA. She loves contemporary fiction and fairy tale retellings, but she will occasionally spice things up with an adult thriller or romance. Emily was proud to be named a Publishers Weekly Star Watch honoree in 2019. Congratulations. Samantha Slavin is the library marketing coordinator. After spending 4 years eating her way through New Orleans, oh, I can relate, working in New Orleans tourism and marketing and at a literary publicity firm, Samantha found her way back to home in New York City. Samantha can always be found curled up somewhere with a book or exploring the branches of the New York Public Library. Whether it's a memoir, mystery, or historical fiction, Samantha takes her yearly reading challenges very seriously and is always making book recommendation lists for friends. Thank you for being here today, Amanda, Emily, and Samantha. Take it away.
Thank you, Donna, and good afternoon, everyone. We are Macmillan's Library Marketing Department. Like Donna said, I'm Amanda Crimarco, and I'm joined by my brilliant book talking teammates, Emily Day and Samantha Slavin. Here are all the various ways you can get in touch with us. We love hearing from you, so please feel free to reach out with any questions or concerns or requests. On the next slide, this is how you can find out how to download Macmillan's eGalleys on Edelweiss, and these instructions are also on our website. The next slide is one I am very excited about. Happy Half Hour is our weekly book talking series that happens every Monday at 4 p.m. Eastern, where the three of us highlight upcoming adult and YA titles. And it's just a whole bunch of shenanigans with some book talking as well. So a lot of fun, so I encourage you to sign up for that. Today's book buzz is matchmaking themed, where we're going to match you and each other with the perfect reads based on genre. We'll start today's presentation with adult titles and end with YA. So now get ready to swoon. Next slide, please. We're just going to start off with general fiction. Samantha, take it away.
Okay, I love any kind of fiction, so I'm very excited to see what my matches are today, and I have very high expectations as well.
Okay, so my recommendation for Samantha, we can go ahead and click next. There we go, is Deep as the Sky, Red as the Sea by Rita Chang Epic. This book sounds just so cool, so I couldn't not recommend it. Plus, I know Samantha loves debuts. It is a historical reimagining of a legendary Chinese pirate queen. her fight to save her fleet from the forces allied against them, and the dangerous price of power. It's a story of leadership and motherhood, and will be great for readers of really compelling genre-bending literary fiction like Outlawed and Piranesi and The Night Tiger.
My pick for Samantha is The Sunset Crowd by Karen Tanabe. I happen to know that Samantha, like myself, is a big fan of Taylor Jenkins Reid, which is why I'm recommending this book. It's set in 1977 Los Angeles, and a young woman meets a tight-knit group of glamorous friends and upends their lives as she chases the blinding lights of fame. This has definite Daisy Jones and the Six vibes, plus a little bit of Inventing Anna and Crazy Rich Asians. So perfect fit for Samantha.
Those are both perfect. Also, those covers are just the most beautiful. So I'm very excited. Great job, everyone. You can go on to the next slide. So now I'll take it away with some more fiction. My first one here is No Two Persons. I'm actually reading it right now, and it is amazing. It is from the best-selling author of Reese's book club pick, The Scent Keeper. This is a truly unique and beautiful love letter to reading and to books, and reveals how books affect us in the most touching and unexpected ways. There are already tons of author quotes to choose from, but I think Nina Degermont, New York Times bestselling author of The Christie Affair, says it best. I am madly in love with this book. Erica Bauermeister has written a gloriously original celebration of fiction and the way it deepens our lives. Each story in this cycle stands alone and at the same time carries the arc, not only through the novel that's its central character, but a cast of recurring players who connect in the most unexpected and satisfying ways. With its beautiful parts that add up to a brilliant whole, No Two Persons made my reader's heart sing. Next slide. The Collected Regrets of Clover is a big-hearted debut all about what it means to live. Growing up, Clover experienced a lot of death, leading her to travel the world in college, learning all about what death means to different cultures. But along the way, she misses the death of a person that she feels closest to, and Clover becomes a death doula so that she can give everyone a chance to have someone there with them for their final moments. But during this, Clover stops experiencing her own life, and as she meets some new people, Clover learns how to live once again. This is perfect for fans of earnest and strong characters like those in Eleanor Oliphant, Evie Drake Starts Over, and Where'd You Go, Bernadette? Next. Did you hear about Kitty Carr? Fans of The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo and The Vanishing Half, get ready, because this glamorous and engrossing story is the next big portrait of Golden Era Hollywood and characters grappling with codes of Jim Crow. Incorporating significant moments in history, Crystal Smith-Paul seamlessly highlights ongoing social issues while exploring the world of celebrity, privilege, and power. After Kitty Carr dies and bequeaths her multi-million-dollar estate to three Black sisters, it not only prompts questions, but brings out secrets that could change and complicate the lives of many. Next. Glassworks is another gorgeous and irresistible debut. This one is a sweeping, character-driven historical novel filled with fabulous queer characters and exploring many different identities in historical contexts. This follows one family across 4 generations, beginning in 1910 with Agnes, who made the wrong choice in her marriage, her son Edward, who is struggling with being a man of faith, his child Novak, who is getting caught up in all things Cecily, and then ends in 2015 with Cecily's daughter Flip. So very fun to see everyone connect throughout the story also. This is perfect for fans of 10 minutes, 38 seconds in this strange world and Saints for all occasions. And next, The Old Lion is a broad view of the world through the lens of one of the most central figures in history, Theodore Roosevelt. From the mid-19th century to the early 20th century, Theodore Roosevelt went from being a child with debilitating asthma to living a vigorous life, along with his accidental rise to the presidency. And award-winning New York Times bestselling author of more than 15 novels, Jeff Shara traces his life in its entirety. Next. I Am Aya, The Way Home. Donna Hill is a pro at writing fascinating and romantic stories that immediately draw readers in while creating a well-researched historical setting. And this one is about Aya Fleming, who is the relative of an escapee en route to Cuba. And now she has to return home, even if it's the last thing that she wants to do. Next is The Sea of Elephants. This is a stunningly written debut novel that is both a moving coming-of-age story and a tender and compelling queer love story between two men trying to find their place in the world while being of different races, nationalities, and religions. The Sea of Elephants is an immersive tale set in 1990s India as a young man flees his father's threats to send him to a conversion center as he encounters a traveling theater performing the Hindu myths he grew up hearing. This has already received some amazing praise from authors who are absolutely loving it, and it's written in the vein of Shuggie Bain and the Island of Missing Trees. Next slide. Nothing Special. This follows May in 1960s New York City after she drops out of high school and leaves her self-destructive parents' home and is hired as a typist for the Andy Warhol. Fans of sad girl books like Sally Rooney's and Otessa Moshfegh's will love Nicole Flattery's fresh and edgy voice that is fiercely original. This is a really terrific coming-of-age story that takes place at such a fun and fascinating cultural moment. Next. King of Armadillos. This is a debut and an urgent and timely exploration based on the author's own family about finding light and hope through the darkest of times, exploring questions about who we are in the face of illness, our responsibilities to ourselves and our family, as well as immigration and more. This is a novel with a lot to discuss. Victor Chin was diagnosed with leprosy at 15 years old, having to leave his home with his father and quarantine alongside other patients. Feeling trapped and alone, Victor finds freedom in music, first love, jealousy, betrayal, and tragedy. Fans of Red at the Bone and the Guernsey Literary and Potato Peel Pie Society and watchers of Atypical will find much to love in this extraordinary and captivating novel of a radical community. Next. The Connollys of County Down. Tracy Lang's debut, We Are the Brennans, received high acclaim, reviews, and book club picks. And now The Connollys of County Down follows in a similar path with a new, complicated, and nuanced family that asks questions about loyalty and trust in a family with deep-seated issues that also has an unlikely love story and characters you can't help but root for. The perfect read for a book club. Here we have Tara Connolly, who was just released from 18 months in prison and has to rebuild her life, find a new career, and hold together her entire family as secrets start to unravel and threaten her future. A second chance at love story. This is perfect for fans of Laurie Frankel, Emma Straub, and Catherine Sector. Next, Hangman is the absorbing and hilarious debut about a man's search for his lost brother in an unnamed sub-Saharan African country after more than 20 years living in America. This is the story of the search that includes all the amazing people he meets on the way that will lead him to the truth. Hangman is partially inspired by the author's father's time as a political prisoner in Ethiopia. And next. The One That Got Away is an epic and romantic story that is ready to take readers on a journey and asks, what if the one that got away is the one you were always meant for? Get your tissues ready, because this is a book that transports you back to the heightened emotion and intensity of first love. Spanning 2 decades, Benjamin and Clara spent 2 years together and then 20 apart. They both know that they still belong together, and when tragedy strikes the city they first met, Clara is forced to confront what tore them apart in the first place, while figuring out if it's too late to fix what went wrong. And that is all for general fiction. We will move on to Amanda's specialty.
Yes, so next we're going to talk about sci-fi, fantasy, and horror, which are all of my favorite things. So what recommendations do you have for me?
Okay, I'm going first. I'm really excited. You can click to the next. So I can't see Brandon Sanderson and not immediately think of Amanda, as I'm sure many people agree with. This is Brandon Sanderson's next standalone, which is perfect for fans of existing fans and those newer to the world of Sanderson. It is about a man who wakes up with no memory of who he is, where he is, or where he came from. His only help in finding all of that out and for survival is remnants and fragments of a guidebook from his world titled The Frugal Wizard's Handbook for Surviving Medieval England.
My pick for Amanda is Looking Glass Sound by Katrina Ward. I happen to know that Amanda loves Stephen King, who was a big influence on this book. And she also loved The Last House on Needless Street, which was Katrina Ward's first book. So I knew that this one would be a good rec for her. In a cottage overlooking the windswept Maine coast, Wilder Harlow begins begins the last book he will ever write. It's the story of a sun-drenched summer of his youth and of the killer that stalked a small New England town, of the terrible tragedy that forever bonded him with his friends Nat and Harper in unknowable ways, of a horror that has followed them over the years. But as he writes, Wilder begins to fear his grip on the truth is fading. No longer able to trust his own eyes, Wilder begins to fear that this will not only be his last book, but the last thing he ever does.
Thank you. Yes, those two authors are some of my favorites. So your recommendations are amazing, as always. Next, we're going to move into some even more sci-fi, fantasy, and horror. First up is The Salt Grows Heavy by Cassandra Khaw. You may remember them as the author of The Library Reads Pig, Nothing But Blackened Teeth. Here comes another horror novella about a mermaid and a plague doctor on the run through a kingdom that's been burned to ashes and a mysterious village of ageless children who thirst for blood. It's already gotten a starred review from Publishers Weekly, which says, expertly blending a gothic atmosphere with elements of splatterpunk, this brilliant novella is not to be missed. Next is Fractal Noise by Christopher Paolini. Set in the same world as To Sleep in a Sea of Stars. These two books make up his fractal verse. To Sleep in a Sea of Stars sold 250,000 copies across all formats and was the #3 best-selling science fiction hardcover of the past 5 years, bested only by The Martian and Ready Player One. It is a standalone prequel set on the other side of the galaxy about a space crew who discover an anomaly on a planet that will change everything they think they know. Next is Witch King by Martha Wells. The beloved superstar author of the Murderbot Diaries series returns with her first new fantasy in over a decade. When you read a Martha Wells book, you know you're going to get characters you can adore and identify with alongside breathtaking action and adventure, and the wit and charm we have come to expect from one of the leading writers of her generation. Witch King is a story of necromancy and power, truth and betrayal that will have her fans desperate for more. Next is Mavefly by CJ Lead. This is a debut that is perfect for fans of the TV show You, and My Heart is a Chainsaw. It's about a young woman who takes on a new persona to impress her best friend's brother, but it's a persona inspired by American Psycho. The voice is sharp, commercial, and distinctly millennial, which feeds perfectly into the narrative's scathing social criticism of the privileged history of male authors and male killers. It's campy and thrilling, and the story itself is full of nods and send-ups to the very horror canon that it's taking to task in a way that is just very inviting and takes readers in on the fun. Next is The First Bright Thing by J.R. Dawson. This is the spellbinding debut for fans of The Night Circus and The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. An enchanted circus and the misfits and outcasts that make up its troupe must fight against an impending war and a rival circus determined to take them down. It is a moving story of found family and an exploration of who we are, who we love, and who we choose to be, all against a backdrop like Water for Elephants or Life After Life. Next is The Edge of Sleep by Willie Block and Jake Emanuel. This is an original survival horror novel set in the world of the hit eponymous podcast where everyone who falls asleep dies. A group of friends and strangers must straddle the liminal boundary between life and death as they fight to save everyone they've ever loved and to keep their eyes open. The first season of the podcast has 7.2 million downloads and counting, and this book expands on the world that fans already know and love. Plus, with a TV show in post-production and the podcast stars and production company putting their weight behind it, this book is going to get a ton of interest. Next up is Ebony Gate by Julia V. and Kendra Bell. This debut is just so fun to talk about. It is a female John Wick story with dragon magic set in contemporary San Francisco Chinatown about a retired assassin who is hired by a god of death to stop spirits from leaving the underworld. Ebony Gate is a perfect example of authors with a contemporary Asian American voice married to an amazingly unique magic system based on classic Asian myths. It's the start of a trilogy that will take the characters across the world facing new adventures. Think a snarky Harry Dresden meets Shang-Chi. Next up is The Militia House by John Milas. Stephen King meets Tim O'Brien in this debut. It is about a military unit in Afghanistan who explores an abandoned old barracks off base they've been told is haunted. After a short visit, things become increasingly not right, with the men unable to forget about the strange, unsettling sights and sounds from the house. It could just be the strain of war playing tricks on them, but something about the militia house will not let them go. The author was an active duty Marine in Afghanistan and received his MFA when he came home, where Roxane Gay was his thesis advisor, and he's using the horror genre to kind of unpack the trauma of war in his debut. Next is The Deep Sky by debut author Yume Kitase. Excuse me. This is about a mission in deep space that begins with a lethal explosion that leaves the survivors questioning the loyalty of the crew. It's an alien-esque claustrophobic murder mystery in space, featuring a crew that's entirely women or non-binary characters who must sort through their complex, sticky relationships as they fight to save their species. This feminist sci-fi thriller will be fast friends with other recent sci-fi novels that wrestle with gender, sexuality, and identity, like those from Mary Robinette-Kowal, Becky Chambers, and Rebecca Roanhorse. Next is Camp Damascus. Two-time Hugo Award finalist and beloved internet icon Chuck Tingle joins the Macmillan family for his traditional publishing debut about the demons the queer community faces in America, the price of keeping secrets, and finding the courage to burn it all down. High up in the mountains of Montana is a God-fearing community with a heart of gold, and Camp Damascus, the self-proclaimed most effective gay conversion camp in the country. Here, a life of free from sin awaits, but the secret behind that success is anything but holy. T. Kingfisher calls Camp Damascus a joyful, furious romp through dark places, while Sarah Gailey says it has all the thrills of a teen slasher while exploring the deep wounds that can be inflicted by broken systems. And next, speaking of T. Kingfisher, is Thornhedge. When she's not writing wonderfully creepy horror, T. Kingfisher writes wonderfully subversive fairy tales, and I love all of it. Yes, Thornhedge has a cursed princess asleep in a tower, but this isn't her story. Toadling was stolen by the fairies as an infant and then asked to return to the human world and offer a blessing of protection on a newborn child, and it all goes sideways from there. Centuries later, a knight has heard there's a curse that needs breaking, but it's a curse that Toadling will do anything to uphold. It is charming and beautiful and truthful and will continue to break out T. Kingfisher as a great writer of her genre, like T.J. Klune and Naomi Novik and Becky Chambers. And next, this is He Who Drowned the World by Shelley Parker Chan. This is the sequel to the multi-starred Library Reads Pick, Indie Next Pick, Best Book of the Year, and award-nominated She Who Became the Sun, and eagerly awaited conclusion to the duology. Fans of queer fantasy are going to devour this tale of war and power across an alternate China. And that is it for sci-fi fantasy horror. What is up next?
So as Donna mentioned, in addition to YA, oh, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, it just said that my internet was unstable, so I wanted to make sure.
It's a little wonky.
Sorry. I also love romance, so I'm so excited to hear what you guys have to recommend for me.
Okay, I will go first because I am obsessed with this book. My pick is Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. I'm obsessed with it. I have been recommending to everyone since I was able to read it. It is about a young woman who is drafted into a brutal and elite war college for dragon riders, where the only way to get out is to graduate or die. She has to vie for her place against her fellow students, while outside the school, the war grows more deadly. It has great fantasy elements, really spicy romance, it's got political intrigue, and an epic twist to set up the rest of the series. This was just so much fun to read. And I would also give this one to fans of Sarah J. Maas and Jennifer L. Armentrout.
Okay, you can click to the next now. I know how much Emily enjoys not just Catherine Center's writing, but also Catherine Center herself. So I am very excited to recommend her upcoming Hello Stranger, with Catherine Center's signature humor and charm. This is about Sadie, a struggling artist looking for her lucky break. And right when she's about to get it, a minor surgery leads her to experience face blindness. So she's learning to cope with the help of her 14-year-old dog, Peanut, and the fact that she can still see animal faces, which leads Peanut's vet to asking her on a date. But then also things start to get flirty with her neighbor as well. This is a heartwarming novel all about falling in love, confronting a haunting past, and figuring out who you really are.
Okay, those sound amazing, and I'm so excited to read them. And now for some more romance. Next slide. First up is Planes, Trains, and All the Fields by Livy Hart. This is a sexy reboot of Planes, Trains, and Automobiles about two strangers who embark on a trip full of distractions, detours, and disasters. Cassidy is determined to get to California in time for her sister's wedding, but when the flights are grounded, her only option is to share the last rental car with the hot and infuriating Luke Carlisle. As they venture across the country, everything that could go wrong does, and the walls they've put up start to crack the longer they're in tight quarters. This is for fans of the enemies to lovers in Book Lovers and the quirky heroine in The Love Hypothesis. Next slide. Oh, I'm so excited for this. This is Wolf Song and Raven Song by TJ Klune, and these are the first two books in TJ's beloved Green Creek series, which follows a pack of wolves and other shifters in a small town in Oregon. The third and fourth books in the series, Heart Song and Brother Song, will follow after. Next slide. Play to Win by Jody Slaughter is a sizzling romance where a winning lottery ticket is meant to be a new start, but instead becomes a second chance at love. When Miriam Butler wins the lottery, she thinks it's just what she needs to start over. The only problem is that she's required to share her winnings with her estranged husband, Leo. So she calls Leo up out of the blue after 8 years and offers him a proposition. He takes a lump sum and signs the divorce papers. But Leo's got a proposition of his own to offer, one that might just win her back. Next slide. Starbringer by Tracy Wolff and Nina Croft. Firefly meets The Breakfast Club in this high-concept queer romance from #1 New York Times bestselling author Tracy Wolff and bestselling author Nina Croft. 7 strangers survived an attack on a space vessel, each with a different story and a different goal. Now they're all on the run from the attackers, but one of them saw something they weren't supposed to see right before the attack, and it could unravel the very fabric of the universe. All right, now is on to mystery thriller. Back to Amanda.
Yes, thank you. I love a good thriller. Tell me what is going to blow my mind.
Okay, so first up from me, I know Amanda loves a good suspenseful thriller, and What the Neighbor Saw is just that, filled with a chilling story of murder and intrigue. Perfect for fans of Sally Hepworth's The Family Next Door and Lisa Jewell's Watching You, this debut is set in an affluent DC suburb about husband and wife Alexis and Sam who just moved to town. But this picture-perfect life starts to get some cracks in it when their neighbor Teddy is found dead, leaving the community shaken and the police struggling to find the killer. As Alexis starts to become friends with Teddy's now widow, secrets start to emerge and the neighborhood only becomes more divided.
My pick for Amanda is The Girls of Summer by Katie Bishop. This is a psychological novel about the complex nature of memory, trauma, power, and consent, pitched against the backdrop of a life-changing summer in the Greek Isles. And who wouldn't want to escape to the Greek Isles for a little while? Rachel has been in love with Alistair for 15 years, even though she's now married to someone else, even though she was a teenager when they met, even though he is 20 years older than her. The affair began during a sun-soaked summer in Greece and has consumed her since she was 17. But as dark and deeply suppressed secrets about Alistair rise to the surface, Rachel has to rethink their relationship and reclaim her own story. This is for fans of My Dark Vanessa and Whisper Network.
Those sound amazing. Thank you. Next, we'll go on to some more mystery and thrillers. First up is Sing Her Down by Ivy Pacoda, the critically acclaimed author of Wonder Valley, Visitation Street, and These Women returns with a gritty feminist Western thriller. Two women who meet in prison and when they get out, they fall into an epic cat and mouse game. Very No Country for Old Men meets Killing Eve. It is a fast-paced story with thought-provoking questions at its core. It's about rage and violence and the confines of roles that are assigned to women, making it book club catnip. Next is Bad Summer People by Emma Rosenblum. This debut is for all your White Lotus fans, your Big Little Lies fans, your Malibu Rising fans. They're all going to want to read this one. It is about infidelity and backstabbing and murderous intrigue, a story of what's lurking under the surface of picture-perfect lives in a place where everyone has something to hide. Next up, The New Mother by Nora Murphy. An idyllic neighborhood, a new mother struggling to adjust, a helpful neighbor who has a secret agenda for befriending her. This will be perfect for domestic suspense and women fiction readers alike, with its fresh feeling take on new motherhood and postpartum depression and murder in suburbia. Next, The Last Drop of Hemlock by Catherine Shellman. This is the sequel to Last Call at the Nightingale and invites readers to join protagonist Vivian Kelly in a 1920s New York City nighttime world where anything goes, but any drink could be your last. This time, the Nightingale's doorman is found poisoned, but there may be more to the story. Readers of historical mysteries looking for a queer and diverse cast will want to dive right into this series. Next is All the Sinners Bleed by S.A. Cosby. S.A. Cosby is just a delight. If you are looking for gritty Southern crime fiction, this is the guy you should be reading. And all of his books so far are standalones, which makes it very easy to dive into for any reader. This book follows the first Black sheriff in a small Southern town as he faces a questionable shooting, a Confederate pride march, and a serial killer. Think True Detective meets Justified in a gripping, fast-paced book that does not shy away from the big issues. Next is The Woman Inside by M.T. Edwardson. This follow-up to A Nearly Normal Family follows a wealthy couple who ends up murdered in the nicest part of town. Every person in The Woman Inside is hiding something, but could any of them really have been driven to kill? This will be perfect for readers looking for a high momentum beach read and book clubs looking to consider how far they're willing to go for the people they love. Next up is Speak of the Devil by Rose Wilding. This book has such a juicy plot. New Year's Eve, 1999. 7 women surround a dead body. Each of them had reason to hate the man, but which of them did it? Combining the impeccable plotting and intimate character work of Tana French with the gut-punching emotional reckoning of My Dark Vanessa, this is a dark whirlpool of a read that will suck you in and just refuse to let go. Next is Night Will Find You by Julia Haberlin. The best-selling author of We Are All the Same in the Dark and Black-Eyed Susans returns with the story of a reluctant psychic who is brought in to find a girl who went missing long ago. The psychic twist really drew me in, and then the compelling characters and deeper exploration of the delicate balance between scientific truth and the things we can't explain really kept me hooked. Next is The Guest Room by Tasha Silva. And okay, after I talk about this one, y'all are never gonna wanna stay in an Airbnb again. This follows when a woman who is forced to rent out her late sister's old room to pay the bills, the urge to rummage through her guest belongings overtakes her every thought. As she's looking through her current guest's stuff, she finds a diary that chronicles his infatuation with a beautiful stranger. It appears harmless at first, but slowly takes a darker, more menacing tone with each entry. And as she continues to peruse his diary, she can't help but notice similarities between the woman on the pages and herself, leading her to wonder who is really watching whom. Give this debut to fans of You by Carolyn Kepnes, The Woman in the Window by A.J. Finn, and The Paris Apartment by Lucy Foley. Next is Cutting Teeth. Reese Pick and Good Morning America Book Club pick Chandler Baker returns with a funny, daring mystery about what happens when 10 preschoolers with an odd craving for blood are the only witnesses to a murder. This smart, witty domestic suspense takes the page-turning drama of Big Little Lies and melds it with the originality and humor of Nothing to See Here, and combines the shocking questions of The Push with the thought-provoking, timely issues of The School for Good Mothers. Next The Block Party by Jamie Day. At an annual block party in an upscale suburban neighborhood, someone is murdered. But who did it and why takes readers back 1 year earlier as rivalries and betrayals unfold. This book is perfectly crafted to appeal to summer suspense readers, those who love authors like Ruth Ware's The Woman in Cabin 10, Riley Sager's The House Across the Lake, and Sandy Jones's The Guilt Trip. Next, The Bitter Past by Bruce Borgos. This is the start of a new series set in the high desert of Nevada that introduces Sheriff Porter Beck. In this book, the sheriff becomes embroiled in a mystery dating back to the early days of the nuclear age. A solid crime novel with thriller elements and a great cast of main and side characters make this one perfect for fans of Craig Johnson and C.J. Fox. Next is Gone Tonight by Sarah Pekkanen. One of the co-authors of The Golden Couple and The Wife Between Us and more, is back with a solo outing about a mother's secrets to protect her daughter and what happens when they begin to unravel. The mother-daughter relationship is both thrilling and heartbreaking with characters that you won't soon forget. This is definitely Sarah Pekkanen at the top of her game. And next is Dark Corners by Megan Golden. Rachel Kral, the true crime podcaster star of Megan Golden's Library Reads pick Night Swim, returns in this book, this time to search for a popular social media influencer who disappeared after visiting a suspected serial killer. This book takes a deep dive into the cutthroat world of influencers, a world of fierce rivalry that may have turned lethal, and the very real dangers that lurk in the dark corners of the internet. I would give this one to fans of Alice Feeney and Mary Kuplica. And next, I think we're moving on to some nonfiction.
Yes, a little turn from my first section, but I am very excited. I love a memoir or history or anything to make me think a little more.
Okay, so my pick for Samantha is Crowned by Karen and Regis Bethencourt. And you only have to look at this gorgeous cover to know why I'm recommending this title. This book pairs classic fairy tales, African and African-American folklore, and brand new stories created by the authors with absolutely stunning photography in a joyous celebration of Black beauty and imagination that will be a must-have for children and parents everywhere. It is just gorgeous.
My pick for Samantha is Page Boy by Elliot Page. The Oscar-nominated star who captivated the world with his performance in Juno finally shares his truths. Full of behind-the-scenes details and intimate interrogations on sex, love, trauma, and Hollywood, Page Boy is the story of a life pushed to the brink. But at its core, this beautifully written, winding journey of what it means to untangle ourselves from the expectations of others is an ode to stepping into who we truly are with defiance, strength, and joy.
I am very excited for both of those. They sound amazing. So next slide, we can go into some more nonfiction. The first one is The Talk. This is a graphic novel memoir by Pulitzer Prize winner for editorial cartooning. And he offers a deeply personal meditation on the talk parents must have with Black children about racism and the brutality that often accompanies it, a ritual attempt to keep kids safe and prepare them for a world that does not love them. The author received his talk when he was 6 years old about playing with water guns in the front yard, and here reflects on current events and how he'll have a talk with his own child when the time comes. Next. Sayonarka tells the story of the birth of women's health and the forgotten woman who was at its center. A surgeon named J. Marion Sims has long been held as the father of gynecology, but this book reveals the story of Anarka, the young enslaved woman who is the subject of his experimental procedures. He went on to become one of the world's first celebrity surgeons, and she was largely forgotten until now. Next. Anansi's Gold is the never-before-told story of a Ghanaian con artist who pulled off one of the 20th century's longest-running and most spectacular frauds. This is a riveting account of Cold War entanglements, international finance, and post-colonial betrayal, revealing how what we call history writes itself into being one lie at a time. And next. Stuff Mom Never Told You is an exploration of major feminist issues by the hosts of the popular podcast of the same name. The authors and hosts talk about major moments in history, women who changed the world, the civil rights movement and the women who shaped it, and so much more about the advancements and achievements of women. And that is all for adult today. So next to YA.
All right, I'm going to close this out with some YA, but first I want to hear what you have to recommend for me.
Yay. Okay, I'm going first for Emily. You can click next. Yeah, so Emily loved Nina Kenwood's previous novel, It Sounded Better in My Head, and always loves an enemies to lovers romance. So Unnecessary Drama is the perfect recommendation. This is about 18-year-old rule follower, good friend, responsible Brooke, who plans to keep her reputation the same as she enters college. And the one rule of her student housing seems to be an easy one for her, no unnecessary drama. But when one of Brooke's roommates turns out to be her high school nemesis, that one rule becomes anything but easy for a few reasons.
And then I am going to recommend Guardians of Dawn, Zara by S.J. Jones. I know Emily loves books full of girl power and romance, and so I'm very excited to recommend this richly imagined fantasy series starter that is Sailor Moon meets Cinder. This book has forbidden magic, monsters re-emerging from the marsh, secret organizations, and an epic quest to restore harmony and bring peace to the world. It sounds like so much fun, and readers are loving fantastical fairy tale inspired novels these days. So this one is going to be a lot of fun.
Yay, those are both so different, but I'm very excited for both of them. And now for some more YA. First up is This Is the Way the World Ends by Jen Wilde. You are all cordially invited to spend one fateful night surviving an elite private school's epic masquerade ball. Welcome to Weber Academy, school for Manhattan's elite and for Waverly, an autistic scholarship student who is used to masking to fit in. When Waverly is offered an opportunity to attend the biggest dance of the year, she jumps at the chance. But while there, she witnesses a brutal murder. And before she can escape, a mysterious global blackout puts the entire party on lockdown. Waverly and her friends have to navigate through a dizzying maze of secret passageways if they're going to survive the night. And even if they do, they have no idea what kind of world will be waiting for them outside. Next. Ruby Ramos's Recipe for Success by Jessica Parra. Graduation is only a few months away, and Ruby Ramos's Recipe for Success to get into prestigious Alma University is already off track. When Alma waitlists her, Ruby will need to be distraction-free to make the grade and keep her parents from finding out, which means falling for her cute surfer/math tutor Ryan definitely won't work. And neither will breaking her mother's ban on baking. Her parents did not leave Cuba so that she could bake just like them. But some recipes are begging to be tampered with. A Cuban Girl's Guide to Tea and Tomorrow meets You Have a Match in this joyful book filled with swoony romance, jaw-dropping baked goods, and the journey of what it means to define yourself. Next up is Girls Like Girls by Hayley Kiyoko. Trailblazing pop star, actor, and director Hayley Kiyoko debuts her first novel, a coming-of-age romance based on her breakthrough hit song and viral video of the same name. Coley worries that she is not worthy of love. Up until now, everyone she's loved has left her, and Sonia's never been with a girl before. What if she's too afraid to show up for Coley? What if by opening her heart, Coley is risking it all? It's not until they accept the love they fear and deserve the most that suddenly everything makes sense. For fans of I Kissed Shara Wheeler and Cool for the Summer, Hayley Kiyoko's debut novel is about embracing your truth and realizing we are all worthy of being loved back. Next up is Earth Called by PC Cast. In this last installment of the Tales of a New World series, love and goodness are put to the ultimate test as gods, humans, and animals come together to save everything they hold dear. The Pack and the Wind Riders are in danger as the god of death marches ever closer in their quest to destroy and conquer everything and anyone who stands in their path. Now they must find a way to stop the god of death before all is lost. Next is Dark Hearts by James L. Sutter. Perfect for fans of Red, White, and Royal Blue and Perks of Being a Wallflower, Dark Hearts is a hilarious, heartfelt novel about fame, romance, and what happens when the two collide. David and Chance used to be best friends and bandmates, But after David quit the band and the band was launched into stardom without David, things changed and they haven't spoken in years. Now their third bandmate has died and the two of them are thrown back into contact. As they reconnect in ways neither of them expected, they're going to go on a journey that they never saw coming. Next up is Going by Coastal by Dahlia Adler, a queer sliding doors rom-com in which a girl must choose between a summer in New York City with her dad and the girl that she has always wanted, or a summer in LA with her estranged mom and the guy she never saw coming. For fans of Becky Albertalli and Sophie Gonzalez, this queer rom-com about a bisexual girl finding love shows that there's more than one path to happily ever after. Next is Where Echoes Die by Courtney Gould. Two sisters travel to an isolated Arizona town to investigate its connection to their mother's death, but uncover more than they anticipated in this supernatural thriller. In Where Echoes Die, Courtney Gould draws readers into a haunting desert town to explore grief, the weight of not letting go of the past, first love, and the bonds between sisters, mothers, and daughters. Next up, The Prince and the Apocalypse by Kara McDowell. An American teen is stranded in London and forced to team up with the British Crown Prince if she wants to make it back home before the end of the world in this delightfully rompy, high-stakes rom-com. Hand this to readers who loved the crossover appeal of Red, White, and Royal Blue, the laugh-out-loud humor of Tweet Cute, and the wholesome and heartwarming royal romance of Tokyo Ever After. Next slide. Ghosted by Amanda Quain. Never Have I Ever meets the X-Files in this gender-bent contemporary retelling of the Jane Austen classic Northanger Abbey. With the aching, slow-burn romance of Bridgerton and the mysterious boarding school of Truly Devious, plus Amanda Quain's signature wit, this Austen classic is turned on its head to create a sparkling retelling that proves sometimes the ghosts are just a metaphor after all. Next up is Tilly in Technicolor by Maisie Eddings. From Library Reads author Maisie Eddings comes a YA debut about two neurodivergent teens who form a connection over the course of a summer. Tilly and Oliver are neurodiverse in different ways. Tilly is, quote, lively and exasperating, says Oliver, whose autism has often made it hard for him to form relationships with others. When the two are forced to spend a summer together at an internship in Europe, their connection grows and they learn that some of the best parts of life can't be planned, and they're forced to figure out what that means as their disastrously wonderful summer comes to an end. Next is This Cursed Light by Emily Theed, the highly anticipated sequel to This Vicious Grace. 6 months after the events of the first book, Alessa is ready to live happily ever after with Dante, her former bodyguard. But Dante is convinced that their troubles with the gods aren't over quite yet. When the gods reveal their final test, Dante and Alessa will be the world's last defense. But if they are the keys to saving the world, will their love be the price of victory? In This Cursed Light, Dante and Alessa face their most daunting challenge yet when the gods demand they prove their worth by choosing the ultimate sacrifice to save humanity once and for all. And lastly, Unexpecting by Jen Bailey. Juno meets Heartstopper in this poignant and emotional story about found family, what it means to be a parent, and falling in love. When an experiment at science camp has unexpected consequences, gay 17-year-old Ben Morrison finds himself about to become a single dad. This smart and touching comedy drama about teen pregnancy is also a heartfelt queer love story that will have you feeling all the feelings. Next slide. And that is it from us. Thank you so much for tuning in today, and we hope you will reach out with any questions or requests or just to chat about books. We love to do that. Thank you again. We hope to see you all soon. And now back to Donna.
Oh, thank you so much. That was wonderful. I was entranced. Thank you, Amanda, Emily, and Samantha. So everyone out there, tomorrow you will all receive an email containing links to today's video recording, presentation slides, and a certificate of completion. For more about Booklist webinars, be sure to visit booklistonline.com/webinars. You'll find archives of past webinars and you'll be able to register for upcoming programs like those that you see here. And have you heard Bookless Reader, our new book browsing guide, offers reading recommendations to patrons of all ages. It is now available in print. Go to booklessonline.com to find out how you can order print copies for distribution at your library. Do you already subscribe? Bookless subscribers can share issues digitally for free. Visit our website for more details and to see examples of how libraries are sharing Bookless Reader with their patrons. Thank you for joining us for today's webinar. One more tremendous thank you to our panelists and to our sponsor, Macmillan Library Marketing. This concludes today's webinar. Stay well. See you next time.